Jacob Soso, Jogo, Jayaka, Jogo, Jodo, Guinea, or Tamana, Tashi direction, Soso, Chicari, the Chicari, Marie Rinpoche, Samji Machabari, Tam Johnston, Ginger, Nathalie, Sawata Jogo, Marie Rinpoche, the Tana, the Stringori, Marie Rinpoche, the Trinidor Rick Chokanani, Cheparta Papa, Lalule, Cheparta Papa, and Marie Rinpoche, so many, Lalule Rinpoche, so go on Marie. They think was Tamsi, not that Marie Rinpoche, the Tachimboy.
So all the Dharma friends from the various countries and centers around the world, Dashi Delek. Today is my birthday of when the day I was born in this world, in the human world. And the human body is really inconceivably precious, and because of that, having found this precious body of freedoms and advantages that is difficult to find, we have to engage in meaningful activity. So having obtained a precious human body, we have to remember that. So on a birthday, I remember the precious human body that I have. And the precious human body is superior in the 6 realms of samsara, even superior to the body of a god, because it is never said that like a noble god birth or something like that. We speak about the noble or precious birth of a human body, and so therefore everyone should today remember how precious this human body is.
Militoni Jemla, the Rajil Pimpaton, Pimpa, the Devaton, Jogos, the Santiton Digi, the Six of Monday, Milit Zatimon was Hantik Lagari, Laura Token, the Military Chipan Papa in Ba, they told me to Sanji come out to your body. The Sanji come out to the Haton Gumbo, the conjecting. Ricardo Sanji, sometimes the Tatakapanda, Sanji don't need the paper. Oh, Sanji don't need the Tatakapanda paper. Sanji the Hadam Gumbo, the Tonguri. The Maria Gangli, Sanji don't need the Simply Lam Sanjini, Simply Tamtiro Sanji to your age, Simply Tamtiro Sanji to your age, Simply Lam Sanji, want the Lord to be chiefs. This guys in a hardcore, they don't conquer Lang 7 years and Tommy, Chamis or Tosadi, Thomas Antu, oh, 7 years old, Sempty or Sempty by the way. Sempty Parmy, you know the other Tosan good. Sempty by the Ninja on those. Same the Ninja, Madonna, dump to charm, dump to. Roda Mana, the Charum Chakaman, Betty, that is only the septic there of the Daddy, the Charum Dory, the Young Dollar, the Howard Johnson, the Septis had it of a chest. The little to Tamambo, young, the Tobajating song, she is some public nerocity. Sajit did save the nerocity, save the nerocity, she did there. young the neighbor. That's the Chisamchi, Chuku, she's a party there of the inn. Sajikaka Yomari, Several, she near Sem Tamatana Chasma, there's Sanjay Lapurate. They no one to chop out, they take out that domain of the Chuku, she up with Nero, Semco, Simpin on the Yenny Sanjay, Ramji, Locatim was on the December. They keep up, same Congo, she did Sanjay. Same the unity, the data of somebody. They will sit at that and tongue to your Mary. The Guardian Masang Karimajet, Masang Bejet. This is Marikbat, Masana, she is jet of your Mary. They will send them Chagram the Marjana, Chagram around for my data. 통고를 때라 산지시바도 처리했지. 호가시바는 자우롱을 해야 돼. 대다와 생물종들이 대회들이 따서다 샘대 오늘 사직이 줘요 봐. 대다와 토마 이런 것은 사직 까리 대물지 대물이 내려오래 해상문에 대 사직이 숨바지 뻔야 말이 그렇다가 제발야 말이 오 샘판 걸 아주 대상하게 해야 돼. 대토론 지고 해야지. 이제 뒤수 송아 송바리 동네양 때 해야지.
So, now having obtained the precious human body, in order for this body to become, this existence of a human to become meaningful, I have the motivation. I think I must accomplish the benefit and happiness of others and also oneself. And who actually recognized that the human body is so precious among the 6 classes of beings? The Buddha himself had said that the precious human body is so precious because it is through this human body that you can attain the state of enlightenment. And it is said that the attainment of the state of enlightenment, for this reason, is because it is so difficult and requires a human body. It is so rare. The human body is so rare. And it's only through the human body that you can attain the state of enlightenment. And so that is also because in a universe, a Buddha doesn't always appear. A Buddha appears sometimes. So right now, that's why people think that, so now in this aeon, the Buddha Shakyamuni has appeared. And so now, thinking in this way, one thinks, oh, a Buddha's appearance is so rare. But actually, even though that's how we commonly see it, it's not really like that. Because the Buddha himself said, all sentient beings are actually Buddhas. And that is because all sentient beings possess the cause of Buddhahood. So all sentient beings are actually Buddhas. They are only obscured by adventitious stains. And so the Buddha had attained the state of awakening because he realized the true nature of the mind. So the Buddha, in order to realize the nature of the mind, gathered the accumulations for 3 endless aeons. So first, in the beginning, actually, he cultivated bodhicitta, and he realized that in order to realize the nature of the mind, I must cultivate bodhicitta, the mind generation. So then he cultivated bodhicitta, and through that attained enlightenment. So therefore, it is also said that it is through the force of bodhicitta that one finds the actual authentic truth, the natural state of the mind. So therefore, if the mind never separates from compassion, it is like the ocean never separates from warmth. And when it is warm, then no ice blocks can form in it. So within the mind, our self-grasping is like an ice block. And so it is due to self-grasping that the 6 realms of samsara have appeared. And even though there are different traditions or lineages, there's one important quote by Jigten Sumgön from his collected works where he says that what the Buddha taught, so the teachings only show the fundamental nature of all phenomena, the natural state of all phenomena. And the natural state of mind is bliss. And because the mind has lost its autonomy, has become controlled by afflictions, we experience suffering. So the fundamental nature of all phenomena, the nature is taught. So what this means is also that there is no separate Buddha, but it is the natural state of your mind. So that means once your mind has become completely pure, that is what we call Buddha. And for as long as the mind is like defiled, polluted water, it has the nature of suffering. So the natural state of all phenomena is thought also means that primordially the mind is by nature Buddha. This is how it is taught in Dzogchen. So this natural state of mind is Buddha. And whoever has a mind, once there is mind, there is this nature of Buddha. It is just that we don't see it right now. We cannot see it. And so for this reason, because we cannot see the mind, it is like the water has become polluted. And we cannot recognize the natural state. So when bodhicitta doesn't arise within our mind, then we cannot see the natural state. So in brief, what it comes down to is ignorance. It comes down to ignorance and not seeing one's true nature. And so once we cultivate the mind of bodhicitta, then the mind cannot no longer turn into an ice block, freeze into an ice block. And for as long as we don't recognize that, the mind will remain in an ice block-like state and will not melt. And for as long as it doesn't melt, the mind cannot attain freedom. This is what we call Buddhahood. It is like an ocean water, and samsara is like an ice block. So just remember this. And so everyone has a mind, and therefore they have the cause of awakening. And first, it is important for us to recognize, to see that this is the actual word of the Buddha, that you have this natural state. The Buddha is within yourself. And it's not just something that the Buddha himself had said, and also it doesn't matter which lineage or tradition one follows. It is just how things are in their natural state. Basically, the natural state or Buddhahood is, in Tibetan, it is Sang Ye. So Sang is to clear way, and Ye is to become vast. And so Sang means that we have to clear away this ignorance. For as long as we don't clear that away, the natural state cannot become vast. So if there is no clearing away, there cannot be vastness. And so once you've cleared away all ignorance in your mind, then the natural state as it is what we call Buddha. And this is what you should keep in mind. And so this is what the Buddha himself had said, and also this is what Lord Jigten Sumgön said. And it's not just something that they said, but it really actually represents, it expresses how reality really is.
남저 톱담 책동지 기세동이 체디사에 다데 영 어찌 타파 레리체 노빌을 락동로 너지 책지마치 고고리 노빌을 락동로 저 바디 얘는 노르데 가리 상속설이 이 담을 보자 톱레디 상속센터 담문지 듣고 요리 저들이 노빌을 락동로 저 바디 물을 보자 노빌을 세반한 지레송
There is a quote by Chamgön Kongtrul from the calling the Guru from afar, and that is a prayer that is widely renowned throughout the Kagyu lineage, and most can understand it. So it says there that if you if you waste your precious human body of freedom and advantage in meaningless ways and not to attain liberation, it is like coming to an island of jewels and leaving empty-handed. So what's important to understand is this last sentence, a jewel, coming to a jewel island. So what is that jewel? The jewel is bodhicitta. And now, having obtained a precious human body, we have an ability to recognize bodhicitta. And so therefore to not leave empty-handed from the jewel island, which is like the human birth, we have to cultivate bodhicitta. And so this jewel island is like this human existence. And we must not waste it and leave empty-handed without bodhicitta. So this last line in this prayer is important. Also, it is said that all Dharma, the 84,000 Dharma teachings, are included within bodhicitta. So there are limitless sentient beings appearing in limitless aeons, and for all these beings, the Buddha taught an antidote for each of them. So there are many afflictive emotions, so there are many antidotes. Jigten Sumgön also said that the 84,000 teachings are taught as an antidote to the afflictive emotions. So, in brief, how many afflictive emotions are there? There are 6 main afflictive emotions, and they all arise from self-grasping. There is not a single afflictive emotion that doesn't arise from the self-cherishing mind. So why do the afflictions arise? Because there is a self. I want to be happy, I want to be well. We all have that just naturally. It's there because of our body, because we cherish our body. And so that is what we call attachment. And anything that opposes this, anything that threatens our happiness causes anger or resentment to arise within us. For example, when the weather is very hot, then we feel resentful towards the heat. And when it gets very cold, we feel resentful towards the cold. So it starts with this resentment, and out of that then develop the other 6 afflictive emotions, which are the natural projection or kind of manifestation of the self-grasping mind. And so then when we look at this me, this self, whether or not it exists, actually we cannot find it. It doesn't actually exist. When one realizes the nature of the mind, one realizes that self and other are not separate, do not exist. And in this way, one also realizes that attachment and aversion do not inherently exist. So then one sees the ultimate truth. So the Buddha saw the ultimate truth, and the Buddha therefore taught the 2 truths, the relative and the ultimate. On the relative level, the Buddha taught that on this level, love and compassion first has to arise in our mind stream. So in the beginning, we have to recognize the qualities of bodhicitta. And then once we have recognized it, we have to meditate, we have to habituate it over and over again, reflect upon it, increase it, hold on to it. And the practices to hold on to bodhicitta are the 6 paramitas. The 6 paramitas are the path that the Buddha taught. All of the Buddha's words are included within the 6 paramitas. And the 6 paramitas themselves are included within the mind of love. So we practice the 6 paramitas in order to sustain our love. So it's all for the purpose of love. And for example, it is like love or bodhicitta is like lion's milk, the milk of a lion. So a lion is actually an animal, and generally it doesn't have many great qualities, but among the different wild animals, the lion it kind of outshines all the other animals. So it's the strongest of all the animals. And for this reason, the lion doesn't have to be afraid of any other animal. So therefore, the lion is like a symbol of fearlessness. Fearlessness in this life, future lives, and the Bardo. Others are afraid, but the lion doesn't have to be afraid. So now the Buddha, for instance, or somebody who has bodhicitta, then has no fear of samsara, the 3 lower realms, is not afraid of anything at all, just like a lion. And the lion's milk is bodhicitta, or love and compassion. And then you also need a vessel to fill the milk in, that contains the milk. And it is said that the lion's milk must be contained by a golden vase, a golden vessel. So the lion's milk is an example of bodhicitta. And then once one attains, through bodhicitta, one attains the state of enlightenment, one becomes Vajradhara, which Vajradhara means that one transcends birth and death, arising and decline, and becomes fearless. And so we have said that there is the milk that needs to be contained in a vessel, a golden vessel. And the golden vessel is symbolic of patience. So we need to have patience. So what's the quality of gold? The quality of gold is that you can't break it or damage it. And for example, if you have a golden necklace or chain, it might be kind of broken apart, but you can, even though that happens, it can also be fixed again. So it has this quality of, even though it may break, it can also be fixed. So bodhicitta is the lion's milk, and the golden vase that contains the milk, so that must contain or sustain the milk, is great patience. So as I mentioned in the previous quote, that we should not spend our life in meaningless activities. And so it's not that all of our activities, our mundane activities, are meaningless actually. But what that really means is, it's not that the activities themselves, but it is the state of mind that we are in. So what we need to recognize is that love is the cause of bodhicitta. So even if one engages in mundane, samsaric activities of this life, still, whatever one does with body and speech that comes from a mind of love is called the cause of merit. And so if you recognize that, then you will sustain love in whatever you do with body, speech, and mind. And in this way, you will bring benefit to others naturally. And in this way, you will accumulate merit. When you accomplish the benefit of others, you accumulate the merit to obtain a precious human body. And also now we have brought that continuum from previous lives. So we are now a precious human bodies. And basically whatever you do, even if whether it is a dharma activity or a mundane activity, if you do it with love, even just the slightest thing you do to benefit somebody else, it all becomes a cause of merit. And we just have to accumulate it. So the cause of merit is already inherent within us, and then the condition is actually our kind, or a very kind mother who has given us this precious human body. And the love between a mother and her child is very natural. Even animals love their mothers, love their child. So the child loves their mother, and the mother feels great affection for her child. So that is that love that we first need to identify. However, nowadays there are a few people who say that I don't love my mother. And in that case, there must be someone else that you love. For example, if you love your cat or your dog, then take that love and recognize it, identify this love. It is that love that will become bodhicitta. So today, when we receive the Bodhisattva vow, we have to recognize love in our own mind. And that is just like finding gold. For example, gold actually is in some or one or the other way contained in all the rocks, all the stones. And of all the different rocks, gold is considered very precious, but actually what people don't see is that it's not this one solid thing, but it's actually everywhere. When you see the sun shining on rocks, and sometimes it just like flickers, and you see the gold is like it's kind of spread all over. So you have to gather it. You don't have this like solid piece of gold without gathering it first. So the sun is shining, and it glimmers, and you can see there's actually the gold is all over the place. And so similarly, actually love pervades the mind, but we have to gather it, we have to collect it and make this piece of gold out of it. And so for that, we first have to recognize love. We have to identify this love in our mind. And then we have to gather it from all over to make this piece of gold, which then becomes bodhicitta in your own mind. So some people may think that I don't have gold, I don't have that, but actually it is everywhere, all pervasive. Then the way, for example, jewels are made is that like a lot of gold pieces, like particles, are gathered, and then jewelry is made out of it. So first of all, we need to recognize that it's that feeling of love that is the cause of merit, when love arises and you act with body and speech. And then once you have recognized it, you have to increase this love, make it become stronger and stronger. The Buddha's love is very strong, very powerful. And we also have love, but our love is very small. It is often just limited to our companions, our friends, and so on. But what we need to recognize it is the same kind of material, the same things, the same essence. Our love and the Buddha's love essentially are the same thing. It is just there's a difference in subtlety, or one has more, one has less. So once you understand that, you will know how to collect and bring together all these small flakes of gold and make a piece of gold out of it, which is then like bodhicitta. So therefore, when we take the Bodhisattva vow, we have to recognize the quality of love, the quality of bodhicitta, and then we must know how to develop it and how to sustain it, so that it eventually becomes this kind of lump of gold, which we then call bodhicitta. And so that is the purpose of taking the Bodhisattva vow today. And so the Bodhisattva vow is a skillful means, a method to kind of condense or bring together love, condensing love within one's mind stream so that it becomes bodhicitta, like a piece of gold. So when you look around then, for example, looking for gold, You can see it everywhere. Wherever you see some here, you see some there, even some in the water and so on. So in the end, you basically collect all the gold and make a nice piece, have a nice piece of gold in the end. So which is just like collecting love, recognizing love, collecting love, and developing it into bodhicitta. So it is this quality of love that will bring you ultimately to the state of enlightenment. And so all beings have that to some degree. So, but then it is not strong enough. So for this reason, all the beings suffer. The beings in the desire realm, the form realm, and the formless realm do not transcend suffering. And it is the Buddha's love pervades all of these realms. So that is what we call boundless love. As love, that moment of love when it becomes vast or boundless or immeasurable, turns into the four immeasurables. So that is the Buddha's love. Our love, we have it, but it is very weak at the moment. But what we need to recognize is that it is one and the same thing. Like gold is gold. It is just we have less and the Buddhas have more of it. So today when you receive the Bodhisattva vow, you should think that today I must recognize love and I must sustain love. I must hold on to love.
그래서 쳐다시면 삼티한테 삼티의 문제 삼티의 망보를 올라 되니 사축sem데 doctor 삼티를 참아로 삼티를 사축sem데 때문에 다디한테 삼티인데 다 독대에서 오는 삼티의 문제 자기 들이다 사축sem도 봐서 파도서 봐도 쇼보레지 어떻게 가보래서 말해지 적디가 사 탐치는 람지가 저네네 칼을 요래 마치고 보고지를 딱 보잖아 대라양들이 로송강과 점바 노선바와 저선 따들더니 강에만 보를 수바 건바 점바 저선 수바 토리 위져서 람지가 창게 요래 너는 삼재코랑 하시 들버리 파르드스 마도 시합포마도 창게 요래 파르드스만 가 창게 요래 8월도 생일들이 사제당시 특히 8월도 생일 말 8월도 생일 얼마 드마상거리 조바 저선 참아 창고 요구하지 시 제수는 그 저여 받아 시 대하고래 들이대들 하고 자꾸 이래 나와 사토신데 자치 보래 대나들이 제말에 비해서 말에 디바 8월도 스마 디바지 송을 책에 있는 애들이 제노 짝कस어 봐라 자기 마치 님바통스 담정 행보를 봐라 주전만 데이터스 니 송다와 시당이 소로 받다 주바고 따따따 산쪽서도 많이 쏘지다 시당 증거리 오야 다 시당서 주바고 거리 시당들이 까빠사고 기타는 고소적인 조바지에 기타 히바데 가리 기타 탐체들이 삽질을 거고 그래. 이 삼체 되게 다 사당서 기타 개와시바데 되죠. 이 내가 피바 타톡 내가 내가 무슨 소리 물리 터바데 삼체를 하지. 오야. 타톡 산지 공방도 나지 자원을 매 받자. 나지니 매와 하고 들 상지라고 요래. 이 때문에 레리라지 동무도 뚜리 타베체게 있어. 뚜리들 가리리 대시 봐요. 이랑 샘디 유모바 와도 마셔봐. 대시 봐요. 라리 소디는 참악창게요래. 드리테라들이 특별히 특징도 배치. 대책동 공부지에서 다시 레다 항동 거고 요래. 레다 항동 되기들이 샘시와네 봤다더니 타토가들이 항동 시랍들이 생근내로 토마토 통고 요래. 상통주에 들들 저게 특히 뭐도 대책도는 거 맞지. 그 바로도 서방 나한테 이거 타톡 가래. 자리 상제 매입을 세계 체인이 돼서 이 뭐가 적대 파 욕차나 이 라고 오시나 라샤라로 샤라 샘코는 거 나시데 짱마 차 그래. 어찌랑 그 샘때 다 사지 뭐 뭐시 그래. 이 잡고 거쪽에서 라신 사지 정어 맛이 남도 축구에 이제 동마도 막비용만지 조금 디스트랙션데 딱딱들이랑 거 하고 또 그래. 내리 대회들이 따따도 산속서부터 맞다 다 친구인 봐. 이까지 앞들림부터 나들이 배고 코르 사와는 제일 내리고서 바로도 선발하고 라비는 럭대 요리 대타와도 상못당들이 무슨 산속서부터 맞다고 자고 그래지. 대소소는 명령으로 그래지.
So, what is this feeling of love? That is what you need to recognize. For example, you love your dog, you love your cat. Recognize this love. And that it is that love that needs to be developed. And if you have love for many, it becomes bodhicitta. In the end, when you have love for all, you attain Buddhahood. And so it is the love, it is through love that we separate from self-grasping. And no, actually all practices are a method for separating from self-grasping. And so if you cultivate just a little bit of love, self-grasping will go away. So that once that you've recognized this principle, then with this knowledge you must enter the practice of the 6 paramitas. And you might think that, oh, that's really difficult. But actually it's not that difficult, because actually the 6 paramitas are present everywhere, naturally, in this world, in all of our mundane activities. For example, when a mother cares for her child, she really practices the paramitas. For example, the mother cares for, gives for a child, gives anything to her child without holding back, which is generosity. And the mother doesn't harm her child, which is ethical discipline. And she endures many hardships with patience, and that is patience. Generosity, ethical discipline, and patience are the 3 causes of birth in the 3 higher realms. And they are present in our mind. They can be practiced just naturally in whatever we do. So therefore, the nature of love are the 6 paramitas. So the essence of the 6 paramitas is love. When there is love, you will practice the 6 paramitas naturally. But in a mundane sense, we mostly lack the paramita of wisdom. So we really possess the 5 paramitas. And so paramita means not to reach the furthest limit, to completely perfect. Like the Buddha had attained complete perfection of all these qualities. And even though we have not reached complete perfection, still in whatever we do in the world, when there is love, we do practice generosity, ethical discipline, and patience. So recognize that, and recognize that this is the cause of merit that we speak about. Then actually it becomes quite easy. So first, recognize how precious love is. And then there's another quote by Milarepa where he gave a brief teaching on the 6 paramitas. And so he said that without holding back, without stinginess or greed, and attachment, practice generosity. And then it is ethical discipline that makes this precious human body of freedoms and advantages, which is so difficult to find, meaningful. And then he said, the root of the lower realms is hatred. Therefore, practice patience even at the cost of your life. And actually, this is what's most important for us when we take the Bodhisattva vow. We have to identify, first of all, our anger, and then have to practice patience when anger arises. It is also said that the roots of virtue accumulated in aeons are destroyed by a single moment of hatred. So what is this roots of virtue that we speak about? Or what we call virtue in general. That is something that we all should understand. What virtue is love. It's nothing else but love. Once you have love, you have the cause for happiness, or the temporary benefit and the ultimate happiness. And birth in the higher realms as a precious human being arises from love. So love becomes the cause for that. And love serves as the cause for ultimately attaining enlightenment. That is the state where there is no more self-grasping and you realize the inseparability of self and others. That is what we call a Buddhahood. So then Milarepa continues, and then giving up laziness, the obstruction, the hindrance to liberation, practice diligently. That's diligence. So with diligence, with mindfulness, you do not become controlled by the afflictive emotions, and that actually you find the essence of all these paramitas also in the 37 Bodhisattva practices. And then he continues, free yourself from the being caught up in the entanglement of confusion or delusion, and meditate single-pointedly. That is the paramita of meditative concentration or meditation. So it is the practices of shamatha and vipassana. First, the mind comes to a calmly abiding, a tranquil state, and then you gain insight into the nature of the mind, which is vipassana. And then, so these are the first 5 paramitas, but then ultimately, in order to attain enlightenment, the essence really is the 6th paramita. And so then Milarepa said, do not search for the Buddha elsewhere, but recognize the Buddha to be your own mind, present in your own mind. So this is how, in brief, we practice the 6 perfections to remedy the 6 afflictive emotions. And so when you've realized that, when you've realized the nature of bodhicitta, you cultivate love, you practice the 6 paramitas, the 6 afflictions, transform, then your mind becomes completely pure and you see the natural state. There's another quote by Jamgyön Kongtrul where he said that I have not recognized my own mind to be Buddha. I have not seen my thoughts to be Dharmakaya. I haven't been confident in the natural state, the uncontrived natural state of my mind. And so these 3 words are also important. And so in any case, in the context of the Bodhisattva vow, we have to identify the preciousness of love. And if you just practice that and nothing else, it is actually sufficient. So, for example, even when you engage in mundane samsaric activities, in this way you are merging, you're mingling your practice with your activities. And if you only have that, it is actually sufficient. If you only have that, you will naturally practice the 6 paramitas. So recognizing this, therefore, when you take the Bodhisattva vow, you should think to yourself that at this time I must, from now on, I must hold on to this. I must hold on to love. I must hold on to bodhicitta. So what I'm sharing with you is from my own personal experience.
내가 담을 가리트 팽게도 야 롭다스는 가리 팽게도 디는 레가지 맞다 저 레가지는 그 타박 샘 잡고서 정소는 생분도 신도 따르면 이 또 무엇을 알아요 말이지. 이제 생분도 신도 따르더니 나그 산쪽 샘도 타고 자고요. 산쪽 샘도 가리지는 이는 핑고도 이를 피바사와 가리가리래. 갑들이 피바사와들 두제들 가와서 좋아. 이 용진 거 와대. 대사다 기와 탐지들이 잡수 좋아서 샘지바 이게 이자종들이 술람고 저런 저요래지. 잡수 좋아 가리. 오 산지 산쪽 샘도 탑 사지게 띵요래지. 수지가 하고 말이지. 오 들이 사지 띠를 나온가래. 오다 상님제다고 자는데 추래지. 사지 그까를 추대라 유래도. 오 삼바선데 진짜 유래도. 추시방 아사체 랑그 삼체들 랑그 답고 되는 저 살도. 오 랑그 삼체들 랑그 욕설처럼 이거네. 그 게디스래. 오 내가 미상보래지. 내 이는 노바 땅금에 핀세비오 다티 견증을 조성랑 창도 다통 나가 샘데 상제로 사지 차로도 들이나 제 사지 민가 상제로도 상제도 독들 고추 라게 이치제 그래 대회는 이제 감지 싸워 타기로 느끼다게 쇼도 차바들이 순나무 저런 저요래 소소를 접고 접탑탑탑나게 마루한테 영화 지시양검 라고 접들라고 이게 접어서는 이 지시양검을 이 탑대 제발에 행마다리 소디마 예쁘게 제시오리 대들 tin지 그런 수나고 좀만 보다 도도 저 초라도 초라 가리가도 될 시당지 차도지 다지디 왜로지 저라치 보정 나서고 차고 산 저거들 어떻게 될지는 세상도 타도 연구요래 될지는 저라 이렇게 잡는 폐기도 쉽게 탑질 같이 폐기도 야 남들 뭐다를 탑질을 가리 폐기도 살못하는 같이 폐기 대화지들 뒤에 탐치 14시치 산지 사와치 송지 뒤수고 송 미리리 시라고 차도가 탐치 산지를 가리 쓰나 그래들이 다 들리들이 상하 당하가 드리고 참아는 산지 산축 선박에 들리 대답했더니 다상에 자치 못되겠지 그래 대답 다시는 상하 따와 되는 요거를 양 산지 같더니 나와라 잡아 대대죠 그래 그리고 소타이는 애들이 참아 산축선만 통통거리지 이 산축선을 돌아줘도 요래 들때랑 느시대 딱지 기침벌이 느시대 딱만 다 똑되는 사제 공부하고 토고 사람들이 장에 순남 때때 막하게 뭐하지 사람들이 별나 순남 때랑게 별배샤대 자오는 무상을 야잖아 들이 무지야 야제로야 뭐서 돌아도나 요 말이 순남 뭐하지 기침벌이 고래 잡수 좋아 들이 이제는 삼 샘티 봐 들이 지금 뭐야 대해서 뭐 손나 직딩에 싸워 탐체스나고 이제 쌈점에 잡아 자기도 대답을 써먹던 들이 저는 다또 대답은 레버까지 대답은 레버도 나 삼지 톱송 삼지 다다 이렇게 소를 보면 삼지 딱 메인지 대라니 소디만 소말이 달은 이봐 정제 매기도 가다 딱은 뭐 주지나 니기와가 대도 봐나 뭐들래래 대래시 당 맞지서 말이 뒤쪽가를 주상 족세디 지와니 제약 탐체를 드리려고 내가 토리게 되어 멘트를 소야 타토 산지에 고마 토야 산지에 대 토라 마당디 주 풍고된 강바지고 나오리 풍고지들은 가세지 마삼지 당연히 산속 샘지를 마당은 대도 사지를 담이서로 쏘사는 사지 좀 뒤지게 대도 주바고들이 타톡 사지고 막 때문에 들이 상제 다지질로 참아 파상이 이 산속에 찌저들 돈이 되는 게 속는 저가 고방 사지 대토리 토도 당아 대도 토발 다다 산제다 보자 그 총리들이라고 보통 총만 나서 와리 고존에 제다심에 때라서 봐. 이 잡을랭 들이 감슴 셈지 때라서 와서 자체를 다톡들이 감슴 셈지 대신에 다톡들이 셈지 삼지 나기 니스면 받고 나고 된바지 뒤도 하고서 들이 돈이 이제 거나 탐치를 잡도 대다들이 하고 또 그래 동담사족 선저 대 맞게 봐도 그저 사족지 sab지 요바겠다고 야. 대 하자 같이 보도 대회들이 사족선데 이제 탑 딱 하겠지 요래지.
So today during the Bodhisattva vow, so you should recognize that in the quality of bodhicitta, and then in order to practice bodhicitta, it is taught that we should practice the 6 paramitas. And there are no separate 6 paramitas aside from whatever one does. So even when you look into the world, whatever one does in samsara, in this world, can become a cause of merit. Actually, there is so much opportunity to accumulate merit all over the place. It is just that we don't identify these. So actually, there are many ways to accumulate merit. For example, a very limited or small example is the way a mother cares for her child. She also practices the 6 paramita, maybe sparing wisdom, the 5 paramitas. But the paramitas can be practiced. And in a more larger sense, in a more larger scale, for example, when I'm looking at a factory, and I think about how they benefit the world, or when I look at a school, how do they benefit the world, how does the school benefit the world, or when I imagine how would it be if everyone who works at that factory or school had a good heart, that would be it would be wonderful. So it's just the way you see things wherever you go. You just have to change the way you look at things, really. And actually, when you see it in a more pure way, then actually anything can become a way to gather, to accumulate more and more love. So it becomes bodhicitta. So this is how I myself think, for example, when I look at a factory or a school and so on. So it doesn't really depend, our experience, our mental experience doesn't really depend on any material circumstances, but it really depends on how we see things, how we look at things. And so therefore, how we should reflect is that I must cultivate bodhicitta. That's the most important thing. And then in order to cultivate it, you reflect on its qualities. Why is it so important? It is because I want to benefit others. And how does it benefit others? How does bodhicitta and love benefit others? So we reflect in that way, and then when we come into a circumstance where we can benefit others, then we benefit others with great joy and delight, recognizing the quality of bodhicitta. And so then when we engage in practice, we always say that the basis of practice is to take the refuge and the mind's generation of bodhicitta. And that is because in the beginning we have to transform our perspective, the way we look at things. So first we take refuge. We take refuge because the Buddha was the only one who knew the right method to become free from suffering. So he is our first refuge. And the Buddha taught the path, the Dharma, and in essence, the Dharma is to cultivate and to sustain love and compassion. That is the path the kind Buddha had laid out for us. So when you see it in this way, then you recognize actually the Dharma is within my own mind, because the Dharma is love and compassion. If you just have that in your mind, if you have love, it is sufficient, because you have that's when you have the Dharma. So in terms of the 3 jewels giving you up, actually, if they only give you up when you give up love, when you give them up, so then naturally they leave you. But as long as you do not give up bodhicitta, then the Buddha and the Dharma are within your mind. And then there is the Sangha. And so who is the Sangha? What is the Sangha? So when you have love, then you are a good person. Then you think, I'm a good person, I don't harm others, I help others. If you think in this way, you are a real Sangha. Then you realize, actually, the three jewels are within me. And it is my own mind and nothing else that must attain enlightenment. And the natural state of my own mind is Buddha. So when you understand this, then trust arises in that. And then whatever you do in all your mundane activities, if you change your perspective, then anything that you do can become an accumulation of merit. And so you do what you can. So basically you think that I will do my best. Whatever you can do, you will do. And if you can't do something, then you can dedicate for sentient beings and rejoice in others' virtue. So that's also a special, skillful method. And also in that is explained in the 37 Bodhisattva practices, which I have given to many people. So it explains many different ways of accumulating the cause of merit. So there are so many ways to accumulate merit, but we often waste these opportunities. And how do we waste them? It is because we get angry and we get jealous. And we get angry and get jealous because we are selfish. So for example, if you own a company, a factory, for example, and you think that through this company I want to get rich, then because of that selfish motivation, anger and jealousy will arise eventually. But on the other hand, you could also think that I have this company and I want to use it to benefit the world, to benefit people. For example, you can think about the great benefits that are brought to people through things like airplanes or cars or trains and so on. And so with that motivation, then you actually accomplish the benefit of others. Jigten Sumgön had also said, everything that's done in the field of knowable things is done by Buddha. So this field of knowable things is the world. Whatever you do is done by Buddha, because whatever you do is done by this aspect of intelligence, which is actually your wisdom. So therefore, everything that's done with intelligence is really done by Buddha, because that is your inner Buddha. It's your wisdom or intelligence. And this actually also connects to the view of Vajrayana, which is a pure view. And so, for example, I myself, when you have this view, when you understand all of this, then I myself feel that whoever I meet, for example, a practitioner of any religion, I feel that this is Sangha, this is a Bodhisattva. So try to develop such a pure perspective, because this really is the foundation of the Vajrayana view. And the Buddha then also had said that, according to the Vajrayana view, all appearances are seen as deity, and all sounds are heard as mantra. So that is essentially the Vajrayana view. And then wherever I go, I just see deities, I just see bodhisattvas, and everyone becomes my friend. And so this is how we change our perspective if we hold on to love, to bodhicitta. So that's why this is so important. So you should think that ultimately I must attain the state of enlightenment. And so that's your motivation, and therefore you cultivate love and you accumulate merit in any way. So for example, when you do something good, then also to kind of safeguard the good that you have done, you should dedicate whatever virtue you create. Dedicating our merit is similar to putting your money in the bank. When your money is safely in the bank, it won't be like destroyed. It will actually, maybe you gain some interest and it increases. So dedication is just like that. Dedication is extremely important. And actually, whatever merit you create, it should always have 3 parts to it. That is, you first take refuge, then you cultivate bodhicitta, and in the end, you also dedicate. These 3 are very important. And if you have that, then whatever you do in the world, in your mundane activities, all can become really an inconceivable cause of great merit. So that is if you think in this way. And so when you reflect on that and think that, no, I must practice in this way because this is the result. Therefore, I must never give up my love. Now I have found love. I must never give it up. Even at the cost of my life, I will not give up my love, my bodhicitta. Also in the 37 Bodhisattva practices, it says, even though you have not done the slightest thing wrong, even if someone cuts off your head, when you have not done the slightest thing wrong, take up the others' negativity, their evil deeds with great compassion, or taking up their evil with great compassion is the Bodhisattva's practice. So when somebody harms you and you recognize this point, you will think that, oh, this harm happens, this is because of karma from the past. So you wouldn't get angry at the other person, but you would look beyond this life and see that there is nothing more important than not losing your bodhicitta. And that is because it is the only cause of all happiness in this life and in all future lifetimes. And you must always sustain it. So you think that not just in this life, but in all lifetimes, from lifetime to lifetime, I must by all means not lose my love. And ultimately, if you sustain it, it will become the cause of awakening. So until I have attained awakening, I will not allow my love, my bodhicitta, to become spoiled. The body is not so important. The body is just like a house. It's not who you really are. So even if someone were to come to kill you, you wouldn't think about someone is killing me or my body. You would think that even if I'm killed, by all means, I must never lose my love, my bodhicitta. I must sustain it. And this is what the Buddha had done when he accumulated merit throughout 3 endless aeons. He held on relentlessly, and the way he held on to love is with patience. So with great patient endurance, he finally attained enlightenment. And so again, enlightenment means in Tibetan Sangye, and so or Changchup. And so Sang means to clear away, to purify all self-grasping. And once self-grasping is completely cleared away, then the empty mind becomes vast. So then emptiness and compassion become merged, and compassion pervades everywhere. So that is what we call the state of enlightenment. So you should think that this is what I need to attain by all means. In order to attain that, I must not lose my love. And you start small. You start with those people around you, like your children and your spouses, your husband and wife, and so on. Even your cat or your dog, whoever surrounds you. And then you gradually expand this love, so it reaches everyone in this world, and then finally until it reaches all sentient beings in the 3 realms of samsara. And so then ultimately, when it becomes vast, you realize that actually your own mind is not separate from all sentient beings. You realize that self and other are actually inseparable. That is when you realize the ultimate truth. So therefore, recognize that. Recognize that once I have cultivated this state of this vast state of emptiness and compassion, my mind will pervade all sentient beings. So this is what we call the ultimate bodhicitta. And until you have realized the ultimate bodhicitta, you must cultivate the relative bodhicitta, which is love. To cultivate love, increase love, and to sustain your love with patience. That's extremely important. And that is the one thing to remember in the Bodhisattva vow. And so the Bodhisattva vow really is a method. There's many methods, but this vow is also a method for us to hold on to grasp and to hold on to bodhicitta.
deta quaco, titila, tasa chosbotona jingo, dita tatela kamajonga miso dalo nanzi, titilita, sa chosbotoma pavaenzi.
So as Thich Sumgön had said, everything that's done in the field of noble things is done by Buddha. So look at your mind, and when you look with wisdom, you cultivate compassion. So you're merging, you're looking with wisdom, and with wisdom you develop compassion. And then if you have wisdom and compassion, so if you're viewing, your wisdom connects to compassion, then whatever you do with body and speech will become an activity of Buddha. So whatever is done in the field of noble things is done by Buddha. Then your nature, then everything is pervaded. All like the essential nature of all becomes pervaded by wisdom and compassion. And so keep that in mind and recognize that. Recognize that in this way, I become a Sangha. So this is what you should recognize when taking the Bodhisattva vow. So before that, first please take a rest for 15 minutes, and after that I will offer you the Bodhisattva vow. And I'm so happy to see all of your faces, Dharma friends. Now we see each other truly, because the way we see each other today is what we really are. Now we really see each other, because what we see is we see with the love we have in our minds for each other. That's how we see each other today. The body is not important. The body is just like an empty house. So what we see today is the real seeing of one another. And I see everyone is spinning the prayer wheels. Thank you.
Sì.